Thank you very much. So thank you very much. I think you have heard from my senior colleagues earlier. I will not want to reiterate the points which they have indicated, but where I want to focus more is on indigenous knowledge transfer. And usually, when it comes to our postgraduate education, as our keynote speaker indicated, research is the engine. And that is where we would want to see how do we incorporate the community leaders into our research pattern. For example, we saw the cultural display here, and I was asking who are these, and they said they are from the department from music or so from UCC. So my issue is that, do we have any traditional leader formally part of the faculty? Even though we might be looking at controller, payment and those things, but this is where we need them, so that they are also seen as part of developing our mindset when it comes to this. That is one. Two, we are also looking at issues regarding funding, as Prof. Gadi indicated about cost. I was just going through the World Bank report, and it is interesting to note that among the sub-Saharan countries within sub-Saharan Africa, some data indicated that we are doing around 0.5%. And usually globally, at the average, supposed to be 1.7% of gross domestic research development in terms of how we see research to be the engine. And interestingly, West Africa was not in the top list of 5. We had Egypt, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda in there. And these were doing even around less than 1%, about 0.8 to 0.7%. The latest report that I had from World Bank, I don't know why World Bank had to indicate that Ghana, as of 2010, we're having 0.38%, meaning that after 2010, does it mean that we have not been getting any research funding in that level? Because in other countries, we're seeing some latest report of 2020, 2022, where Ghana was 2010. That tells us the importance of how we place research into it. And this is also affecting our productivity level of our students. But at the end of the day, when you travel elsewhere in other countries, you see that we are far behind. Why? Because what we are producing with our postgraduate outputs, they are not, getting the impact that is needed. So there's a need for that, collaboration from government to see it as the need that if they want to see the needed growth in our various communities, then they need to invest in postgraduate education so that our students can come out and be giving us good research output that will solve our problems. For example, the COVID. I think we are glad that University of Ghana did well in terms of the COVID issue, but mostly it was from the European area or the United States that students had to research and find solutions to this. Why is it that we are not finding solutions? Kenya University also did a similar issue in that regard. This is where we need, when we are funded, when there is appropriate funding for that, definitely we will get the needed impact in this regard. So with that of funding and indigenous language knowledge, that is one. Then the last one is about translating our output to our local dialects. We have the SDGs of 17 goals. And I'm glad to say that my alma mater, KUST architect, that is Professor Asasi Opon, did a very fantastic job by using local dialect in explaining the 17 goals of the SDGs. So this is where we are lacking, and that is why our brothers in China, you see that they are advancing. Why are they advancing in technology? Because they bring this down to their language for people to understand their research output and to use it. There's a need for us to translate that. So we call it knowledge translation mechanism, where outputs are given to our mothers in the market our official folks to understand what it is so that they can also use whatever output that we have in making their productivity. Thank you very much.
So I think basically that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. So basically, with the Technical University, there is a paradigm shift from the traditional university where we move from knowledge-based to competency-based training. So basically, our master's program are quite different from that of the traditional university, even though it's a 2-year program. So we try to incorporate integrated industry knowledge collaboration in terms of design of our curriculum. So before we took our curriculum to GTEC for approval, we had inputs from the industry. For example, the Master's in Technology in Construction Management and Civil Engineering. The professional bodies of these two groups looked at the curriculum to also make their inputs what the industry needs. And that is what we incorporated to have that in place. Then in terms of even the teaching, even though to teach at the Technical University is similar with that of the traditional university, but emphasis was placed on professionalism, where you belong to a professional body. You are a practicing professional. So that's why you see my name, Surveyor. So definitely you should, if you are teaching construction, you should be a member of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, where you look at what is the practice and you embed it into the teaching as well. Apart from that, we also have an internship component where they are also allowed to, go back to the industry and learn what is in the industry, so that by the time they finish their 1-year program, then they have topics that they want to research that are problem issues confronting the industry. So at the end of the day, their research becomes an applied. So there's an application to it. So the industry needs it, and so they might be funding in that regard. And that leads me to the third variable, which is about sustainability of the program, where we allow the industry to come and support the research of these individuals. And because of the need it in their industry, they tend to fund it for them to also use the output as well. That is the area that we are looking at in the technical universities in terms of our postgraduate research. So far, I think it has been good, and there's much progress in that and more insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, I think it's all about climate change. Our burden also supports issues with climate change so that it doesn't emit so much gas into the air and deplete our ozone layer. So that deals with green burden. For example, let me just, since most of us might not be in that discipline, this burden is not a certified green burden in the sense that it doesn't allow natural ventilation to come into this burden. This burden, all the windows are closed because of the air conditioning. The windows are not louver blades. They are sliding windows and admit 50% of air into the burden. And most of us go for this type of things in Africa because of their beauty, but we don't look at the impact to our health. So starting from sustainability, we'll be looking at our design, mindsets from the architects, from even the clients. At times the architect can say, let's use louver blades. The university will say, no, I want it to be beautiful. Let's use sliding door or sliding window. And that is the problem that we face in Africa. Most of our buildings are not sustainable friendly. We tend to depend on artificial ventilation and artificial lighting. That is where we want to look at our education, where we train our students to use more of the local materials, refined local materials, like our Kwame buildings and those things. At times we go to the village, we want to drink water, our grandmothers will take water from the pot, it is very cold. But yeah, you need to understand the science behind that pot. Why is it that our coconut water that we drink, even though it's in the scorching sun, we drink that coconut water and it's cool because of the material used for the coconut, the herbs. So what is the science behind it? Using such materials to put up our building so that all the time we become comfortable in it. That is part of the training that we are giving to our students, and we are looking at that direction. Once again, to your team, that where our students will go to the community and research why is it that these buildings have this temperature compared to the concrete blocks that we use here. All these are part of the way that we educate our students so that they can become more environmental friendly, and at the end of the day, our life expectancy will also be going up. At times in Ghana, life expectancy is about 55 years. People who go on pension, they spend just 1 year and they die. But when you go to Europe, those of us who want to go to London, we go to London and they stay in a brick house. Why is it that we can't have a brick building in this auditorium? That's the question we have to ask ourselves.
Thank you. Let me go to Professor Says. I will see now because of my time.
Thank you. So I think Prof has said it all, and that is, I just want to advise students, I've seen it as well, where people have done master's program and instead of a 2-year program ended up 7 years. Unfortunately, some even continue and they die after 10 years without not getting the master's program. So please, as Prof has indicated, it's time. Most of the students, I realize that they are workers, and because of that, they are distracted, by that issue. My supervisor in University of Johannesburg once told me, Emmanuel, the position at your university will be there. Finish your PhD, and definitely position will land on your lap. And I took his advice. And today I don't compete with anybody. I'm quite young, but you see where my position is. So you too can also make it. Leave that position that you are looking for at your office without your qualification. When you get it, definitely you get even more positions than that in your establishment. So focus, spend some time with your work. Make sure you finish within a record time of 2 years. If you are doing PhD, at most 4 years, you should finish your PhD. You should not get a PhD on 10 years basis. That is not productivity enough. And I pray that you all finish at the record time.
Amen.
Also, my question was about how do we incorporate the practicals in it in terms of the students who are learning. Apart from the teaching where we teach or lecture and relate samples from the industry, the students too on vacation are also placed in some industry, if it is construction. They are placed there to observe, learn some of the challenges that are confronting them. And with that, because they are coming back from the industry, they have a fair idea of what is the problem and what they have to research into, so that at the end of the day, what they are researching will be useful to the industry. So that's what we do there. With our undergraduate program, for them, it is part of the semester course. So for example, in their 3rd year, second semester, they are allowed to go to the industry where they will not be in the classroom. So based on the experience that they get from there, they also come back in their 4th year and they do their research based on the industry problems that they observe there. So this is what we do at the Technical University. Thank you. So since we are in the 4th industrial revolution, AI has come to stay. We should not frown against AI, but as Paul said, we should be guided in the use of AI. The AI helps us to give us a guide on how to go. For example, people take almost 2 years to understand how to identify a gap in their research. The AI can guide you, but that doesn't mean that you need to follow through. It's just to tell you that's how the direction will go, and how do you develop from that by using your own originality. That is what we should be looking at. And with all due respect, African universities, we need to embrace AI. But we should change the mindset of our students when it comes to just copying. I think what we do is more of copying. We are not using AI to the fullest. And that is where we need to be looking at this debate.